just like to start the session with some questions to you. Okay, and my first question is, what do these companies have in common? TCS, HUL, ITC, Infosys, SBI, L&T, Tata Steel, ONGC, Maruti is here. Anything else? Make a guess. I can also ask AD himself because he's from Maruti, but let me ask you only. Alright.
Huge number of employees.
Success stories. Okay, so what they have in common is that these are all the organizations which feature in the top 10 India's most admired companies according to the Global Management Consultancy, which is the Hay Group. So according to the findings of the second edition of India's most admired companies, which was compiled by the Hay Group in association with Fortune India, this was very recent, just in June 2013. These companies scored the highest on parameters like the first was corporate governance, second was financial soundness, and what was the third one? The third one was talent management. So whatever he just spoke about right now is something which has probably got them in these first 10. So well, the case for creating these learning strategies for managing talent is very strong. And in the last session also, the previous session, we already spoke about the CEO's buying. Well, as far as we are concerned, let me just share with you a dialogue which happens between our CFO and the CEO. The CFO says, what happens if we invest in developing our people and if they leave the company? To which our CEO replies, what happens if we don't and if they stay back? So well, this is what helps us formulate certain policies and principles and strategies which help us manage our talent in the best manner possible. So when we talk about talent, each and every one of us, we all have different definitions of talent. Some of us might say employees possessing natural ability or skill. Some of us might say employees with special ability or cleverness, employees with special ability in a particular field, employees with special, often creative natural ability or aptitude, or employees with marked innate ability for maybe artistic accomplishments. These are all definitions which are available. But at Bayer, what we believe in is that everybody is a talent. And this is our first talent management principle. And that principle says that we leverage the talent that everybody brings to Bayer and take advantage of the richness of the ideas, background, and the perspectives of our employees. So well, we believe that everybody is a talent and there is some contribution which every single person is going to do to the organization. So let me just share some of our talent management principles which help us actually develop these strategies. The second one is about values. So we consider living life as equally important as delivering business. Now, life is what our values are. L is leadership, I is integrity, F is flexibility, and E is efficiency. So we consider living life as equally important as delivering business results. And in this particular direction, to enable our employees or our talents to be able to develop those values which the organization also has, help them recognize them, we launched certain programs. And one of the programs which we really found useful and which helped our employees develop themselves from inside out was a very simple program like the 7 Habits program. So nearly 50 to 60% of our population has gone through that program, which helps them develop from inside out, help them develop that strong character, help them align their own values with the organizational values. Then the next one is we have a strong commitment to develop from within, and we hold our managers accountable for actively engaging in the development of our employees. Now in this direction, yes, to be able to ensure that we retain our talent, we really encourage a lot of lateral movement also within the organization. For us, the PMP process or the performance management process doesn't simply end with a performance review, but it is always followed up with something which we call as a development dialogue. And this is a dialogue between the manager and the supervisor and the subordinate, wherein they just talk about the development of that individual. They just talk about creating an IDP for the whole year. IDP is Individual Development Plan. So this plan is created for every single individual at the beginning of the year, and we follow up and we see to it that they slowly and steadily move towards accomplishing that. The next one is, in fact, in the same one, the manager accountability. We all have been listening to the 70, 20 and 10 principles. So that is also something which we encourage very much over here. 10% of course is only trainings. The remaining 70% are the projects which the managers are able to give the talents who have been able to undergo the training so as to be able to implement their learnings of the training which they have attended. And 20% of course is the coaching which they receive from the managers. So that's the third principle. The next principle talks about employees or talent taking their own responsibility. So we expect our employees to take personal responsibility for the development. The next one says we consider early and ongoing identification of leadership potential. So that's our leadership development which happens. And consequent development as key elements to our strategy. And we recognize the value that experts bring to buyer by providing specific career paths and development measures. So these are the principles which we follow while creating our strategies. Now when we talk about what we do as far as our employees are concerned, well, we have all our programs under one umbrella, and that is called as the Buyer Academy. Now this entire Buyer Academy, whatever happens in the Buyer Academy or the curriculum which is decided over there, is all determined by the business needs, both global as well as local. In fact, we have introduced a term within our organization which we call as GLOCAL, G-L-O-C-A-L, wherein, yes, there are certain global things which we all have to understand and slowly and steadily adopt, but there are certain local things also which our team members and our talents will have to do. So, industry and global trends, buyer group strategy, business challenges, buyer group goals, these are some things which help us develop the programs for our employees. So as you can see over here, the main focus when it comes to leadership development is how is it that we can ensure a very good, strong leadership pipeline. So well, there are 5 different levels. We also focus on the individual contributor, and we have certain programs which can help them also develop as leaders. The next is when a person becomes a manager, starts leading a team, the next level of program is for that particular person. Then the third is when he starts leading managers who have their own teams. The next is about leading businesses within a country. And the last is, of course, leading the entire country business. So this is how the leadership development programs have been planned, and they are successfully rolled out all across the globe. Of course, as I said, that some of these would be coming from global and some of these we would be creating them over here itself, depending upon the requirement over here in India. Now in addition to this, we have a lot of other academies which are called as functional academies. So you can see over there can be a marketing academy, a finance, procurement, compliance, supply chain, HR academy, and a Salesforce academy also. And yes, a high potential development program also keeps on happening every year for the few people whom we have identified as high potentials within the organization. So let me just introduce you now to some of the initiatives which we've launched and which are really helping the organization grow in the way in which we wanted to. So I spoke about the high potential development program. Now we call this program as My Growth, My Life. I already introduced life to you earlier. Life is our values. So here is a program which helps them develop in various dimensions. So on one part, they are being groomed to become leaders of tomorrow. Okay, so there is a complete leadership development which happens for them. It starts off with self-leadership, then moves on to team leadership. Then we introduce them to something which is also called as social leadership. Now we are an agricultural company, so we have certain farms which we have adopted. So we send them over there to spend a couple of days over there to be able to understand as to what happens over there, live life with farmers over there. So that helps them develop what is called as social leadership. And then finally, of course, we put them through the earlier, whatever I mentioned, the programs, the leadership development. That's the My Growth, My Life program. Simultaneously, we also have a lot of functional development programs for them. In addition to this, there are certain projects which they have been given, and there is a coaching which they also continuously go throughout the whole year. So throughout the entire buyer group, which is something like around 12,000 people, we select only 30 top potentials and we put them through this program for the whole year. Every year this keeps on happening, and every year we are able to develop a pipeline in this particular manner. So that's about my growth and my life. Now the second is, let me introduce you to this academy for which we won the second prize over here itself in the CLO summit last year, and that is called as Excedo. Now Excedo is nothing but excellence creation for enabling development. So in Excedo Academy, what we have done is we've developed a very structured curriculum for our entire sales force to enable them to perform in the best manner possible. So there are different levels of programs. There could be programs for regional managers, for territory managers, for general managers. So there are different programs which have been developed, different clusters have been developed, and they undergo these particular programs. Within these programs also, there are also clusters. Now there is a basic program, then there is an intermediate program, and there is an advanced program. So level 1, level 2, level 3. So this is how the entire academy functions and helps our sales force perform in the best manner possible. In addition to this, we also have a lot of tie-ups with certain organizations, universities, institutes, wherein we help provide a meaningful direction in terms of management education, complementing practical work experience, which enables personal as well as professional growth. So we call them Disha. Disha is an online management program, and NEEV is a program wherein they just have to go to the university about a week, 4 times in a year, and they are able to get their qualifications. So these are some of the initiatives which form a part of our learning strategy for managing our talent. Thank you very much for a patient listening.